Welcome to episode 128. Are you ready for the adventure of a lifetime? No matter your destination, the travel specialists at 3D Travel Company are there to help. Just head on over to my website, www.whodidthatvoice.co, and click the Book Now button on the left-hand side to get your free quote today.
Welcome to Who Did That Voice, the show where we take an in-depth look at voiceover. And now, here's your host, Trenton Larkin.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the show. Today's special guest is joining us all the way from a galaxy far, far away. It's the voice of Hera Syndulla from Star Wars Rebels. And from another galaxy, we have Gamora joining us all the way from the Guardians of the Galaxy. I hope you guys enjoyed today's special clips and the amazing interview to follow with today's special guest. I hope you all enjoy.
Hey, what's going on between you and your father?
We haven't spoken in years. He was a hero in the Clone War. Fought with the Jedi to free Ryloth from the droid army. But after the war, the Republic became the Empire and refused to leave, so he started fighting them. Rocket sent me to find a 300 micrometer frequency laser to repair the ship. I knew the mission would be dangerous, but I never expected this.
We laser tag champions.
300 micrometer frequency. Just what I'm looking for. Next round, I challenge you all. I win, I keep your weapon.
Ladies and gentlemen,
boys and girls,
welcome to Who Did That Voice?
In just a moment, the show will begin.
So please, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Who Did That Voice. Today on the show, I am super excited to be bringing you an interview with Vanessa Marshall. Vanessa, thank you so much for giving me some of your very valuable time to be on the show today.
It's an honor. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you as well. So Vanessa, the very first thing we love to do when we have a guest on the show is to get to know them. So tell me about little Vanessa, the young girl that grew into the beautiful woman she is today, and how did she become an actress?
Well, I grew up in Los Angeles, and my mother was an actress and still is, and my father worked as a TV news reporter. And so I sort of grew up in the entertainment business world, if you will.
Fascinating.
And yeah, I was always, I'm an only child, and I was always a fan of books and stories and later comic books and films and plays. And I was always fascinated by our need to connect with one another through entertainment and how healing that can be. And so I was always writing poetry, and I was able to act and enjoyed it, but I was really more drawn to writing and reading and telling stories and bringing them to life in any capacity, and ended up doing stand-up comedy later on. But my first acting job was playing my mom's character, Valene Ewing, on Knots Landing when I was 10 years old, and that kind of just lit the fire. And yeah, I just started doing plays in grade school, and I went to Princeton University for undergraduate, majored in English, and wrote a bunch of plays while I was there, and I almost majored in anthropology and then religion, then philosophy, and then I decided to get at all of those topics in the big, huge umbrella of English literature. And I really wanted to read every story I ever told so that I could tell better stories or act them out with ease. And ended up going to NYU Drama School, getting a master's in acting. And once I graduated, started doing the stand-up and sketch comedy, and that's when I got discovered as a voiceover person. I had done a one-woman show called the Cyber Dating Game, otherwise known as Raoul's Bedroom. There was a lead character who was in a set-up marriage, and he had created a cyber dating game to get out of it. And so I played about 12 different characters and interacted with previously recorded footage of myself as these contestants on the cyber dating game. And no one knew what to do with me at that point. But I was looking at technology's influence on interpersonal connections, and I found it interesting.
Yeah.
But the voiceover agent who saw me perform said, you know, you do a lot of character voices. You might want to try animation. And I went in and read for her, and she gave me some feedback and decided to work with me, and I've been there ever since. And within a year, I started booking jobs and took a ton of voiceover classes, and I still take classes because I love it. But so I'm the eternal voiceover student, and I'm constantly learning on and off the job, and it's great to be a student of life in general.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of my philosophy, and it's wonderful to be involved with so many creative people telling such great stories. And I happen to be a massive Star Wars fan, so to have landed Hera in Star Wars Rebels was really more than a dream come true. Like I said, I love stories, and Joseph Campbell's ideas of myth and the hero's journey, they're all wrapped up into the Star Wars saga, so that was something that I enjoyed seeing and being a fangirl and all that jazz, and so to actually work with them is just words can't describe how happy I am about that.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so I went from a girl sort of dreaming about those stories to actually living and breathing within them and around them, and so it's just been a delight.
Absolutely. I can only imagine. I mean, for you to be on Star Wars, it's one of Disney's biggest franchises of all times at this point. Getting to play Hera on that franchise. What was it like getting to work with that amazing cast and especially Dave Filoni?
Oh man, it was an absolute honor. I have so many memories that I will cherish forever. When I read for the part, they gave us a script that was entitled Wolf. So, I called a friend and I said, what is this? This is a show about wolves? And now, I was a huge Clone Wars fan, so anytime I hear wolf, I think of Wolfpack and I think of Filoni, and there were a couple references in the script to a light sword and the cause, and some of these things made me think, well, look, I don't know if this is Star Wars because I would never live so long to be involved with that, but I'm just going to pretend it is, and I'm going to basically fit the story of wolves into the ideas of the Star Wars saga and see how I land. At least it'll be specific in my mind.
Yeah.
And it worked out for me.
That's fantastic.
When I got the call back, I went in the room, and there was Filoni sitting with his cowboy hat, and there was a picture of Twi'lek on the wall, and I thought, I think this is Star Wars. That was a good guess, Marshall.
That's awesome.
But I was happy to have just been called back. But then when I actually booked it, I fell over, screaming, crying, you name it. I think my neighbors thought I needed paramedics, but so did my agent, actually. Because that was just, I hyperventilated. I was so grateful. That was really a magical day.
I could only imagine. I mean, getting to work on a Star Wars franchise product is just super epic. And for you to have played a main character, that just had to be super iconic for you and a memory that will definitely never fade.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, another amazing show that you've gotten to be a part of is Guardians of the Galaxy, where you play Gamora. And I had your co-star David Sobolov on the show about 5 or 6 months ago, who plays Drax the Destroyer. So it's super epic to have another member of the Guardians of the Galaxy joining us today here on Who Did That Voice?
Yay! I love him so much. We were supposed to go to Oz Comic-Con together just this past week, and I ended up booking something here in Los Angeles, and I wasn't able to go. But I love traveling with Drax. Drax is awesome.
Well, I love him. I love him a lot as Gorilla Grodd on The Flash too. So that was pretty fun.
Oh, right, I know. I love
really
him
fun.
as everything he does. Whenever I see him, I say, "Do it, Dave," and he goes, "Ho ho ho, Green Giant." His voice is so low.
Yeah, that's so funny.
He's the best voice ever.
For you getting to play on Guardians of the Galaxy, another major franchise, considering that Marvel is such a vast product and entity of multiple stories that just layer on top of layer, what has that been like for you to carry on such an amazing character that's become a super iconic one since the feature films?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, that was another one where we were kind of flying blind on the audition.
Yeah.
I did have the name, but I was blind so far as, despite being a massive Marvel fan, I really had no clue about the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
I remember being at New York Comic-Con and going to the comic book section and, trying to find as many comics as I could to sort of read up on it. And they did have a lot of current stuff, and I have a bunch of encyclopedias of all of the Marvel characters from, way, way, way back in the day.
That's cool.
Whenever a character ever appeared. And I'm a huge nerd, so I'll research things to the ends of the earth.
That's awesome.
But, I figured Gamora is a really strong character, and sort of by contrast to Hera, whom I was already playing, Hera kind of leads with her heart, and her voice is a little bit higher pitched, if you will.
Yeah.
And Gamora is a much more sort of guttural character, being the most dangerous woman in the galaxy. But so when I got the audition for her, I figured, given my understanding of martial arts, which I've studied since about 1997.
Wow.
I just put some physical impact sounds into the audition and tried to layer it with something that would evoke the listener's imagination that this character is really strong and knows what she's doing in the world of physicality.
Yeah.
And it seemed to work. So that was another special phone call when my agent rang me up with that booking. I was really blown away. And then we all went to see the movie together, and that was tons of fun, the first film when it came out. And I couldn't tell any of my friends, yeah, see that green lady? I'm kind of playing her in a cartoon. I had to zip it. So it was fun to see the movie and see the similarities and differences between our performances, and they were mostly, pretty similar. But I went and saw the movie a bunch of times to make sure that I was really... Marvel had said one thing: we don't need you to do any sound-alikes for the film, but we want to have feel-alikes.
Yeah.
So I tried to sort of make it feel like Zoe Saldana's character, and luckily that fit with the choices that I had already made. But we got to go on some really fun adventures, and we're up into season 3 now.
That's awesome.
And they've aired up through episode 313, and they're going to take a little break, and they're going to start showing the rest of the third season in spring of 2019. So
Okay.
we have a little bit of a hiatus. And in the meantime, you can head over to the YouTube channel called Marvel HQ, and you can watch seasons 1 through 3.5. And as soon as we come back, there's a lot of fun stuff that happens at the mid-season finale. We jumped into a black vortex, and what happens on the other side of that is pretty spectacular.
Well, that'll
and
be...
the groovy thing, season 3 is called Mission Breakout, and it's, of course, connected to the Disneyland ride over at California Adventure. So if you miss the Guardians, you can go ride that ride a bunch of times because they're over there.
That's really cool. Well, to get to play Gamora has to be super exciting as well. Since you are a nerd and a fan of comics and just all of it in general, like I am. But one thing you mentioned was Gamora's green, and I went, oh my gosh, so was Hera. And I'm thinking, that's so funny.
I know. Green is the new black.
That's funny.
And I've played She-Hulk and Poison Ivy. What's with the
I know, right?
common theme here? I don't know.
Well,
I know Dave's my favorite Jolly Green Giant, so I don't know.
That's really funny. Well, speaking of Poison Ivy, you were on Batman, The Brave and the Bold, which was a great rendition of Batman. So what was it like for you getting to play Poison Ivy and Batwoman on that franchise?
Oh, it was crazy. That was so much fun. That to work with Andrea Romano was a true honor. She's an amazing director, and it was so fun, campy, and I believe there was a Birds of Prey episode in that where we all got to sing, and it was just crazy. It was just nuts.
Yeah. The music in those shows were really funny, like with the Music Meister and some of those. So yeah, I remember the Birds of Prey episode. That was a really good one.
Yeah, we really just had a great time. Batman is just such a cool character. Anything involving him, I'm all over it. But we had a good time, and I think Aquaman was John DiMaggio.
Yes.
Yeah, he was nuts. I love that guy. I love him.
John is a hoot. I haven't had him on the show, but he's definitely crazy funny from what I've seen.
Yeah, and Diedrich Bonner, he's amazing. I met him back doing The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, he played this sort of mulleted wingnut of a guy who was a little aggro, and he was hilarious. So I had known him for quite some time, and he actually guested on Guardians of the Galaxy as well. Yeah, anything that guy does is just so funny.
That's awesome.
I love him. Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of seeing a pattern here, Vanessa, where, like you mentioned, most of the characters you play are green. So the question for you is not, do you think I'll get this role, but is the character green?
Yeah, exactly. I always have to inquire, because if it is, ladies, go home. No.
I mean, that's
yeah,
pretty funny.
I'm not sure what that's about. It's pretty funny.
But, not that that would actually work, but, it would be just kind of a funny inside joke for you if you ever did do that. You would totally have to let me know, because that would be funny.
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely. Well, we've spoken about some amazing shows that you've been on, and there's some others, a couple of animated feature films, along with tons of other TV shows, and I've got a few that we will highlight. But you were on Justice League: The Flashpoint Paradox, and Justice League: Crisis on Two Earths. Loved both of those. Had no idea that was you until doing the research for this interview, where you played Wonder Woman, and I was like, what?
Yes, those were bananas. Yeah, those were total dreams come true.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Flashpoint Paradox was so intense. That was really strange, because we don't really see Wonder Woman behave like that ever. I mean, the whole idea was that the worlds were sort of turned upside down. And then the Crisis on Two Earths, that was also Dwayne McDuffie's genius at work there. It was a true honor to be able to, and both of those were with Andrea Romano again. So.
Oh man, she was so talented. I hated that she retired, but
yeah, I really I was blown away. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Wonder Woman, ever since I was a kid, with the underoos and the whole thing. And ironically, my mom was in an episode of Wonder Woman, which, if you can Google that, it's really worth checking out. The spandex alone is enough to just really make your whole day complete.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. But
That's funny. Well, one of the things you mentioned to me, Vanessa, was that you do research for your roles, and I absolutely admire an actor who does that. I know every actor to some extent will do research, but those who go and get the comics and really study up on a character like Gamora, I was unfamiliar with the Guardians as a whole until the first movie released, and I think a lot of America, a lot of the world was unfamiliar with the Guardians until that movie, which made Disney nervous, but it showed them that when it hit and was such a hit in theaters, they realized they could take entities that weren't Captain America and Iron Man and the ones that we really know and make them well known for us in generations to come. So I love what they've done, but I love that you've actually taken the time to invest yourself into your characters and using your 20 some odd years of martial arts to put, into Gamora and different things. So, our life experiences can be so important for what we do, and they can make what we see on the screen, big screen or small screen, that much more impactful when the actor puts their all into it like you have. So I really appreciate that, and just wanted to say thank you for investing your all into the characters.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, thank you. It's funny, everyone has their own process. Fascinatingly enough, like David, for Drax, just because you know him, I'll mention this, but there's something so endearing about his character, that he's so in the moment and so earnest. And, really, nuance is not really his forte, if you will. And David would always say to me, God, Vanessa, you really prepare your scripts. I mark them up, and I've this and that, and I've researched the other versions of blah, blah. Yeah. And I go on and on. He said, I don't read my script until I walk in the room. And I said, you are joking. You're that brilliant, and it's a cold read? And he said, well, but that's exactly who Drax is. He is a cold read. He doesn't understand much of what's going on around him. He's so literal.
Wow.
And I just thought, wow, that's so interesting. And perhaps it's my drama school background, because, having done Shakespeare and Chekhov and all these amazing playwrights.
Yeah.
We would research and rehearse and this and that, and then of course forget all of it. But in the moment, you have to just sort of really make it sing, and to be sort of contrived and effortful is not helpful at the end of the day. But I just always thought that was so funny, because I would come in with books and comics, and then I would buy them their look at this comic about your character, and they'd sort of be like, yeah, okay, we don't really need all that, Marshall. But
that's funny.
Yeah, again, everyone has their own process, and neither is better nor worse, just different,
Well, you definitely seem like a fangirl, and I think there's no better characters than people that really love the characters that they're doing. It just sometimes plays even that much more amazingly across the screen, so that's pretty cool to find out that you're so into it like you are, because it really does make it more enthusiastically exciting for me the next time I watch it, or play that game you're on or whatever, because how much time you really invest into it means that the time I'm investing to it is just that much more worth it. So
well, cool. I appreciate that. Well, thank you.
You're very, very welcome. Well, Vanessa, some of the other shows of note that you've been on, I can't mention them all because unfortunately you've been on too many amazing shows, but but you've been on Avengers Assemble, Ben 10, absolutely loved the heck out of Avengers Assemble and Ben 10, but Ben 10 was just like this super epically new concept. It wasn't anything we'd ever seen before when it first came out.
Yeah.
It's just so iconic.
Yeah, no, I know. It was an interesting thing. They couldn't find someone to do the voice Vilgax, I believe it was, that Steve Bloom played.
Yeah.
And I remember as a kid, we would play games or whatever, and I would have this voice that was basically useless for any other purpose. Maybe prank phone calls or something like that.
Yeah.
This voice where I talk down in here was perfect for when Gwen put the watch on and became Vilgax. So I was the female Vilgax, I believe was her name. And it was nice to share that with Steve Bloom, alias Zeb from Star Wars Rebels, and, of course, Cowboy Bebop and every other Wolverine fantastic thing that genius has done.
I know, right?
And he's just an all-around awesome human. But what an incredible concept! It really was, and it was fun to get to do that voice somewhere other than messing with my friends growing up.
Yeah, absolutely. And you played a couple other female characters when Gwen transformed, I believe, the female forearms and female cannon bolt. But like that was a fantastic episode, because you got to see Gwen with the watch for a change, and it was like, this is cool to see how it would be if a girl had the watch instead of a boy, which super epic.
Yeah, I loved, whatever they needed. I was like, oh yeah, let me try that. That's funny.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
Ben 10,
it was awesome.
Super unique show, super fascinating, and you really got to play on some of the pinnacle points of that show with the characters you voiced. So, congrats to you, and thank you for making it so amazing, because to me, I've told people in the past, I think Ben 10 could be absolved into DC or Marvel's universe, because, they could say like, I'm totally blanking. Like Thanos is like the cousin to Vilgax or something, and then Ben 10's in the story now, or something like that, because there's all this intergalactic space stuff going on now. So Ben 10 being part of one of those universes, whether DC or Marvel, I could totally seeing it be sucked into that, because it's just so unique and amazing and different from the typical superhero stuff that we see, Well, another couple of shows to mention that are of note that are really fascinating. One of my favorites got canceled before it should have been canceled. Really upset me. Young Justice, where you played Black Canary. I was super upset when that show got canceled, because it was so unique to see the Justice League have their young partners create their own league. Like, it was like super incredible idea. Like, whoever came up with that was a genius.
Yes, I honestly, I'll tell you, that was Greg Weisman is a genius, as we know, but that cast was so special. We had so much fun, and we got along with the fans really well too. We would have these Young Justice meetups, and the love just transcended and went everywhere. And when we didn't sell enough toys to keep the show on the air, we were all just crestfallen.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for diving into Young Justice just a little bit. It was really fun for me when I realized that Megan, Miss Martian, was actually Danica McKellar, because I was actually in a TV show with her called Inspector Mom. I was just an extra in one of her episodes.
That's
and so,
awesome.
At first, it's like when, and I was young, I was in high school, and then years later, I'm watching Young Justice and realizing it's the same girl I saw on set, and I'm going, this is crazy epic. That was really cool. And it definitely makes a
That's
tie into the
incredible.
show. But then having you on the show too, Young Justice, out of so many of the DC projects they've done, I think was one of the most brilliantly done shows DC has ever created in the animated format. It was just
Wow.
super,
Thank
super
you.
unique. You're so welcome. And thank you for being on there and playing Black Canary and giving her true justice, because you have an amazing voice and you're very versatile in the way you do your characters. So I really applaud you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Well, we're going to mention one last note. Show of note, The Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, absolutely loved it. Also, some of those shows have been short-lived, unfortunately. It seems like they kind of come and go too quick.
That was in the when I believe Disney purchased the Marvel franchise. Unfortunately, that show got sort of tucked under and redone. I love the version of it today, which the other Avengers show that I've also done a couple characters on. But it was an honor to play Black Widow, that's for sure, on Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Avengers Assemble is the new one that I played Loki playing a reporter. And then Hela, I believe her name was.
Yes, Hela.
Yeah.
Who's from
Hela.
Who's from the Thor universe.
Exactly.
She was just in the feature film, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I believe Kate Blanchett played her.
I believe that's right, yes, yeah.
Yeah. But Black Widow is one of my favorite characters. One that I've never played that I would love to is Jean Grey.
Oh, nice.
Someday, you never know. You never know.
You never know. There's tons more time to voice tons more characters, right? Well, it's really cool, and I know Disney did do some switchovers with certain shows like that, but I noticed a lot of the characters from Avengers, the Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, it seemed like several of the different voice actors transitioned into new characters, or at least cameoed on Avengers Assemble once it revamped and everything. So it was kind of cool that some of the same actors kind of got to stick around, even though some of them were recast or moved to other shows. But it's been really cool to see how the Marvel universes and Star Wars universes and all of those have really evolved through Disney's mass production of amazing shows.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm hoping that they have many more episodes to come. I love watching that show, too.
Absolutely.
Avengers Assemble, yeah.
Epic show. A lot of great cast members on that show, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Well, Vanessa, how can people reach out to you? Do you have social media or a website or both, perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely. You can always reach me directly through my website, VanessaMarshall.com. On Twitter, my handle is @VanMarshall. And if you head on over to Instagram, I am @VanessaMarshall1138. 1138 is an ode to my favorite George Lucas and his lovely first film. If you go to Twitter, there's a link for Instagram there. But definitely come follow, friend, say hello. I have a fan page on Facebook, of course, that you can happily like, and stay tuned for all things Vanessa Marshall. I do have some really cool stuff coming out. I can't talk about it, of course, because I signed NDAs, but new cartoons, new games, a bunch of really groovy stuff. And you can hear some promos that I'm doing currently for the show Mom on FXX. If you're ever watching FXX, you'll hear that. And recently I did the Royal Wedding, the Cord and Tish hosting the Royal Wedding on HBO. I was the live announcer for that. You can catch that on demand. That's pretty hilarious.
That's awesome.
But, and there's, of course, more Forces of Destiny. I play Hera in the Star Wars Forces of Destiny episodes that you can watch on the Disney YouTube channel. And they put a bunch of them together, and those are, of course, on Disney XD at various times. You check your local listings. But if you need a little Star Wars, that's where you can find that.
Fantastic. Well, I've got two final questions for you, Vanessa, and we will wrap this interview up. Are you ready?
You bet. Yeah.
Just briefly, tell us, what kind of advice would you give to an aspiring actor or actress who might be looking at joining this world of acting, but specifically the niche itself of voiceover?
I would say take as many classes as possible and continue to have an attitude of humility, and I think that will definitely serve you in the long run. In my experience, people who pursue stand-up comedy, sketch comedy, any singers who understand sort of the musicality of language and phrasing, those people seem to have a real natural knack for the art of voiceover. So if those things call to you, continue to let those things spring forth and grow within you. They can only make you stronger at the microphone. And I always tell people to develop a full life outside of the pursuit of voiceover, which is to say, if you have any hobbies, whether it's horseback riding or creative writing or anything that helps you find your voice. If you're on a horse and you know exactly who you are, bring that to the microphone. I'm in the second draft of writing a novel, and I've written essays and still continue to perform in that way, and I feel like it affords a level of confidence at the microphone that it's a little added sparkle that I think is intangible. It's an essence that only I bring to the microphone where my life experience is concerned, and I think equally everyone has something completely special to give. And if we just get out of the way and let it present itself, we can do anything is possible. The impossible is possible. And so I would say, foster humility, joy, and never give up. And the world needs to hear your voice, so it's worth pursuing, and there's room for all of us, so come join.
Fantastic. I love that piece of advice, Vanessa. All of those tidbits that kind of come together as one amazing piece of advice, but thank you so much. And, I have one final question for you.
Sure.
The question is, what is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
Well, I've just said, whatever it is that helps you find your voice, I would love to empower others to find their voice and speak up for themselves and their truth and be 100% true to who they are. One of the toughest lessons in life is that when we do that, I believe it was Churchill who said that, if everyone loves you, you're doing something wrong. Sometimes you have to sort of stand up for what works for you and, live with anyone's disdain. And I say whatever courage anyone needs to find to be 100% true to themselves without apology. I think when they do that, they give others permission to do the same. I hope that I do that with my life work and encourage others to just be 100% who they are and to live full out and never apologize for their existence. And, I think if we all are like that, we may disagree, but I think we'll respect each other's integrity and individuality. And hopefully, as I pursue that, others will be inspired to do the same.
Absolutely. I think that was a wonderful piece of advice, and I can't thank you enough for sharing all of your wonderful stories and especially your wonderful legacy and advice with us this fine day.
Well, thank you. It's so wonderful to meet you, and keep doing your great work. I'll keep tuning in and listening.
Thank you so much. Well, Vanessa, it has been an absolute honor and pleasure having you on the show today. Would you please do me the honor of closing out as both Hera from Star Wars Rebels and Gamora from Guardians of the Galaxy?
Absolutely. I think Gamora would say, you can't be half a hero and half an outlaw. And Hera would probably say, if all you do is fight for your own life, then your own life is worth nothing. This is Vanessa Marshall, and you've been listening to Who Did That Voice?
Well, everyone, I sure hope you enjoyed today's episode with Vanessa Marshall, the voice of Hera Syndulla and Gamora. And if you did, please find us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram by searching Who Did That Voice. And don't forget to like, comment, and share. For those of you listening on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the little bell notification on the left-hand side so you don't miss out on a single episode. I've been your host, Trenton Larkin, and I'll see you next time. A question you might ask yourself is, where can I listen to Who Did That Voice? That's an excellent question. You can hear us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, and our website at www.whodidthatvoice.co. Click the Episodes tab and listen away. Well, everyone, that's all the time we have for this episode. Join us next time for our special guest, Roger Bumpus, the voice of Squidward from SpongeBob SquarePants, and the voice of the Chief from Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego. You won't want to miss this episode. Hey, do you ask yourself who did that voice? Well, if you do, go to our website, www.whodidthatvoice.co, and click on the Episodes tab. Choose an actor, pick their name, and see pictures from the different characters they voiced in their career.
Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next time for more discoveries on Who Did That Voice.